#DoMode. Less talking, more doing.
My name's Eddie Rosado. I'm a barber at Major League Barbershop in West Haven, Connecticut. I've been doing it for about 3 years now professionally.
What drew you to being a barber?
Escaping the corporate life. You know, I was working in a factory for so long, just getting like 25 cents a raise every year, and I just kind of like felt like little by little I just saw like them taking advantage of me, and I just kind of rebelled, and that's kind of like what made me want to leave, to pursue something that I didn't have no boss. First job was Boston Market at 16. I was there for a few years. I was always a responsible kid. Was there for a few years. Then I went to Aubon Paint for a few years. It was a cafe, and it was just jobs that weren't really 40 hours. They didn't have benefits. So almost like going from those type of jobs to having like a factory job with weekends off and vacation, and it was like an upgrade. They just make you feel like you're really gonna like make it, you know, like you're just gonna be like not the CEO, but you know you're gonna get to 100,000 or the 6 figure. Honestly, when I left after 8 years, I was at like 1450, man. I first started cutting hair at home, like on the side for a little bit, like, you know, my friends, and I really thought I was gonna get somewhere at the factory, you know, like it was like the way they kind of like they brainwash you to believe that you're gonna like just make it. I always felt like if I didn't have a degree, I was nothing. I had a good Russian friend, right? He's 70 years old. He was like 67, and he would say, "Eddie," with his Russian accent, "You're an idiot." You know, like this job is for people like me that came to this country with no other choice. But you're young, you're 25, 26. What are you doing in here with me? But I didn't have no other like gifts, right? I wasn't making it to the NBA. You know, like I wasn't a rapper. Like the only thing I really had was barbering. I was cutting hair at home, like on the side. And that was probably like the only gift that I had.
When was your first actual haircut?
It was like 17. My little nephew, my cousin actually, he was over the house over the summer, and my mom she always used to come by, so she always had clippers in the house. So she told me, "Hey Eddie, give your cousin a haircut." So I ended up, it was bad, but you know, whatever. I gave him like a 1, all even with like a edge up. It was pretty bad.
How long was the transition from your last job to officially becoming a barber?
About 2 years, a year and a half.
What steps did you take?
It was kind of like heaven sent. It just fell on my lap, I swear. I cut my nephew's hair. He's like probably, I've been cutting him the most at the time. I cut him every week. I would practice. There was a time where I actually went and bought myself some like really good clippers, and I told my wife, I'm like, "Baby, I'm gonna make a station," and then start cutting my friends. So my friend, a good friend of mine's, this old man just gave him a shop, a 3-chair shop, real like it was a rundown shop, old Italian guy, Sicilian, and he saw the haircut, my nephew's haircut. He was just trying to get a client, pick up a client. He said, "Who gave that kid that cut?" And I was like, "Oh, that was me." He said, "Come on, man, that wasn't you." I was like, "Yeah, that was me. I told you I could cut. That was me." And I gave him like a mohawk. He's 16 now, and he was like, "Man, that's nice. You should come work, you know, after work, part time." So I kind of said, I was like off the rip. I spoke to my wife, but I told him, yeah. I spoke to my wife, and it definitely beat overtime at the factory. So that's how I saw it for about a year, and then during that year, I started getting a lot of clients, a lot of calls while I was at work. A lot of people, and then he kept pushing me to go for my license, and he said, "Hey Eddie, you need to go for your license, and you need to go for your license." So I ended up going for my license. I passed the test, but while I was going to school, my wife ended up like pregnant with our first child. I said, "Hey, listen, hon, when the baby's born in January, I'm gonna take family leave for the birth, you know, like for 3 months. I'm gonna take max. I'm gonna work at the shop, and if I'm making enough money, that if I'm making more money than I'm making at the factory, I'm quitting. Trust me, babes. Trust me, it's gonna work out. I'm tired of this job." So I got my license. while she was still pregnant. Got my license in November. January came, the baby was born. I took family leave for 3 months. The guys in MLB, I switched over a month. Something happened at the other shop. I switched over a month later. I came here. I spoke to the owner here. He said, come on, Ed. I explained to him the situation. So I started working. I made my business cards, had my logo. I kind of went a little crazy, you know, like I really had some money saved, and I just went all in. And with it, I kind of went all in just to kind of prove to my wife that that I was gonna make it happen, because I really wanted to leave. You know, I was embarrassed. So I was already 28, had a son, and I felt like it was a dead-end job, man. I feel like I wasn't going nowhere. So that's why I went hard. And it was funny because the day that I had to go back to work, 3 months later, it fell, and I didn't plan this. This was God's planning, I swear. It was the day after the CT Barber Expo, which the owner of the shop that I'm working at currently, he puts it together, and it's the biggest barber hair show in the world. So it's here in Connecticut. So it fell. My son was born the 7th, and then the day that I had to return to work was the 8th of April, and that year fell on April 7th, the expo. You know what I mean? So it was like, so the day I went back to work was the day after the expo. I met all these people. A whole bunch of people recognized me because I was already promoting on Instagram. So I went with like this high, like, man, I was pumped, and I'm sitting in front of this machine, and I remember thinking to myself, this is what I worked for. This is here. This is the moment. This is the moment I've been waiting for. This is it. It's now. It arrived. You know, like I was pumped, man. Like, it was almost like, you just think, you know, sometimes in these factories, man, once you're there forever. You know, it's like no turning back. Like, you're there 10, 15, once you hit like that plus 5 years, if they don't fire you, man, they don't lay you off, you get you get comfortable, you know, you just don't leave. So it was almost like the moment of rebellion, you know, like I went up to the supervisor. I told him, I said, listen, man, like something came up when I was out, and I'm just going to give my 2 weeks notice. Somebody told me, I said, hey, don't go back. Don't go back, because if you go back for your 2 weeks notice, you're gonna feel like you could go back, because you left the right way. If you quit like this, I know it's not professional and you're gonna damage your reputation, but if you quit, you go cold turkey, and you kind of mess up, you burn the bridge. I needed to burn that bridge because it made me like push. You get it? I had nowhere else to fall back on, so it made me push. I had my son. He was 3 months old, man. I was 28. Old barber. No barber started. Really, it's rare when a barber starts around that age and be successful. And yeah, it really pushed me. Really pushed me.
That's awesome. So let's fast forward to today. What would you say people most recognize you for now?
People that are close to me, like the guys here, they don't recognize me for my skills, right? I mean, they respect my skill, but they recognize me for my ambition, like the how I make them feel, right? Like they recognize me for my motivation. Like, how do I sustain that motivation for so long? Like, I don't have nowhere else to fall. My biological father wasn't there, so I take pride in being like a good man, a good husband, a good father, a good friend to other men. They look at me and they're like, yo, I look up to you. And I'm like, man, and in my mind, I'm still the factory worker with the dream. The one in front of that machine at that moment, like, you know? And all I wanted was to make enough money to support my family, and now I'm looked at as a inspiration just because I helped others believe in themselves. You know, it was almost like I don't know, it's kind of crazy, you know.
Who is your biggest inspiration other than a family member?
I could say like deep thinkers inspired me, you know, and all Basquiat, J. Cole, just people who have layers to what they do. The coffee shop that I go to in the morning inspires me. They say, why you don't go to Dunkin'? Oh, you think you're fancy, you go to all these fancy coffees. No, because when I walk in, they're making their coffee with passion, right? They have the cold brew. You know, a cold brew is it's like a slow brew, room temperature that slowly drips, and it like passes through the coffee grind slowly, and by the time it drops, it has all the flavors. I'm just passionate about, like, my coffee. You know, I try to, like, have different things that I'm passionate about and do it on a daily.
What are some of the downfalls in the barbering field?
That barbering has become almost like, dudes think it is like a rap game. Like, everybody wants to be famous, right? Everybody gets a little bit of followers on Instagram, and now they feel like they're superstars, they're rappers. It stopped being about the client. You know, like, I'm big on that. Like, I've been able to, and I say this with like not even patting myself on the back. You know, like I'm real busy, and I've been able to do that in less than 3 years, and it's almost like a blessing. But it's almost because I've tried to keep that kind of like what we talk about, like that human interaction.
Right,
it's about the client. It's not about Eddie and my followers. It's not about Eddie and his sponsorship with Barbers. You know, it's not about what trips I'm going and where I'm flying next. It's about, like, you. How's your family? Everybody is so self-centered. So it's all about me. But this is a service. You know, people forget about that. This is a service. And the client comes first. We need them. You pay my bill. You know, pay my light. You know, you come 3 times a month, you give me $30. That's a light bill right there. You know, that's half of my car note.
What is some advice you would give to the younger Eddie?
That you could honestly do whatever you want. And sometimes when someone tells you that, you don't really believe it. You're like, this guy's crazy.
Sounds like a cliche.
Yeah, like, come on, you're crazy. And that's something I tell young kids, man. Like, I'm like, hey, listen, like, I'm 30, but I'm, all jokes aside, you could be whatever you want to be in this life. Like, look how far I've come. And I always thought a lot of these stuff that's happened to me happened to just other people, strangers, people from afar. But now people are coming up to me like I'm a success story, right? And it's only been 3 years. Like, for me, I just use that because it's fresh, right? The thoughts are fresh. I didn't forget how I felt. How was it to be, how it was to be in the factory and stuff. So I share it with everybody.
The last question is, what does DoMode mean to you?
What DoMode means to me is to just get out there and do it. Show up. You know, half of the, you know, like 80% of the equation is showing up. You know, just doing it, just going hard, having that maniacal drive. You know, a lot of people doubt themselves, but when you keep pushing and you stay motivated, and no matter what, you just like pound yourself on the chest. There's no choice, there's no option. Just go out there and do it. That's really what DoMode means for me.